Hi everyone, welcome to the winter garden, and it sure is winter here now. When I was out here this morning it was so cold I had to go inside and grab an extra jumper. I was freezing, but despite this colder weather I have managed to get a few things done around the garden. I've set up the new worm farm, I've created a new no-dig garden bed, and I've tried to sort out the huge compost piles. Anyway, let me show you all of that now, plus a bit more. So please just sit back and relax for a few minutes and I'll show you around. It's early Friday morning. It's chilly, I can see my breath, and there's a light frost on my neighbour's lawn just behind me. This colder weather, well, in the morning and evenings at least, doesn't seem to be affecting the brassicas. They have again grown so much just in this 1 week. The weather here is a bit funny because the morning times, as I said, are really cold, but during the day it's actually quite mild, and some days, even during winter, it can reach up to the early 20s. Which I think really helps with the growth of all of these plants. I'm now standing out of this area of the garden, and you might remember last week I asked for some suggestions on what to call this section. I absolutely loved Maria's name, where she called this area the fan garden, with the entryway being made up of these upcycled fan covers which create this lovely archway. Maria, absolutely fantastic name. Thank you so much for the suggestion. And this area in future is going to be called the fan garden. I have this little guy guarding the entrance to the fan garden, and beside him there are these eggplants. I have dug out most of them, but I've left these two. I haven't got around to digging one of them out. And I also still have a couple of them to harvest. And speaking of harvests, I got a huge one off this lime tree yesterday. If you take a look down here, a whole basket full of limes. I have a plan to make a couple of recipes with these on the weekend. I really love the zest of these limes, and I'm going to use that in making some shortbread biscuits. I'm also going to make some lemonade, and I'm going to try and make some pickled limes as well. I've lost a few plants in this area, unfortunately, but they can be easily replaced. In this section I had lots of different kale seedlings, and I've only got this one plant that survived out of about 6 of them. I do have quite a few other seedlings that I can easily fill out this space. A few flowers appearing on the primulas, lots of little poppy seedlings, a self-seeded calendula. I still haven't got around to clearing out the back of this garden bed. Remember I mentioned a few weeks ago that I was going to put some foxgloves in here. Hopefully I'll get to that this weekend. I was just over there, that's where the foxgloves will go. The soil in here too just isn't the best compared to other areas, so I might give it a top dressing of compost, and it also needs to be mulched. Hopefully by next week I'll be showing you a much more improved part of the garden. Although in this little section the plants are doing well. This here is one of my rainbow chards. The Johnny Jump Viola seedlings are all doing well, as are the lobelias. I set up this worm farm, putting it in this shady spot underneath the wattle trees. Let's check and see how these little guys are getting on. I purchased these red wrigglers yesterday to put in here. What these guys do is they break down organic matter like food scraps and produce worm castings, which is pretty much like worm poop, which you can use as a fertilizer in your garden. I'll just cover them up again and try and keep them nice and cozy. I'll make sure that I give you plenty more updates on these little guys. I put in a new no-dig garden bed this week. Let's head over that direction and we'll take a look at it now. It's just down here, so it's a rectangular type shape which I placed down here beside the entryway to the raised garden beds. In this bed I planted some heucheras, primulas, rainbow chard, a whole load of foxgloves in this section, delphiniums over here, and down here I have a couple of pansies. I posted a video on my TikTok about how I made this. I'll put that at the end of this week's garden update. I also made a start on this compost bin. I'll pop that video at the end of this as well. And I tried to tidy up my huge compost piles. So this one here is one of 3. Here's one of the other compost piles. I actually had my friend over this week and she was saying that I should probably cut them up a bit smaller so they break down quicker. But I was feeling a bit lazy. I just chuck things on top. What I might do is I will stop adding to this pile and the other one I just showed you. Try and turn it and, you know, get it going. And hopefully by springtime I'll have lots of compost that I can use around the garden. Here's another pile of foliage I've just been building up on. And who else loves plants that self-seed from your compost pile? Here's a lovely nasturtium. And I have a few of these Syringa plants as well. I might dig them up and see if I can transfer them around the garden. I potted up some more of my winter colour. These are ornamental kale and I just love them in the winter garden. Despite them having no flowers, they have this absolutely beautiful coloured foliage and I think they go really well in this pot that my friend gave me. This area of the gardens had a bit of frost last night. You can see it there on the leaves. These are some more chard. They should be able to handle a bit of a light frost. They'll be fine. I'm not sure about my other plants. A lot of them are still little tiny seedlings like this Johnny Jump viola, which is pretty much frozen. But these are pretty hardy animals, so hopefully now this one will pull through. And guess what? Snowflake and Autumn have started to lay eggs this week. How good is that? Thanks, girls. And Autumn has started to get really friendly now. She comes over to me and crouches down and she loves a little bit of attention. Thanks very much for watching this week's garden update, and as I mentioned a couple of times during it, I'm now going to show you 2 short tutorial videos. One is how to start a compost pile and the other one is how to create a no-dig garden bed. Now please bear in mind that they are very short, they're only a minute each. It's just a basic guide. There's a lot more information out there that I could have shared, so just bear that in mind when you watch it. Also, I did want to say that if you live in the Adelaide area, Channel 44 in Adelaide are now airing Gigi the Garden Girl. They started this week. It will be going on over 7 weeks and I'll put the times in the description below if you'd like to watch that. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed these 2 short videos and I'll see you all again next week. I start my compost straight on earth. Worms will come from here and go into your pile. Firstly, put down a layer of twigs. This will help with aeration. Air helps everything to break down and the aerobic organisms needed to survive. Next, I'm adding a layer of brown or carbon materials. Dried out plant cuttings from summer, brown autumn leaves. If you don't have them, use shredded paper or cardboard. Next, add a bucket of earth from your garden. This will already contain microorganisms which will speed up the composting process. Now I'm going to add these kitchen scraps. These are the greens or the nitrogen. Next, cover with your brown or your carbon materials. A general rule is 2/3 brown, which is carbon, to 1/3 green, which is nitrogen. Water until it feels like a damp sponge. Update and more info soon. The new garden bed is going over here. Get some plain cardboard, soak it in water, place a layer of it straight over the grass. Overlap the pieces so that there are no gaps. Next layer is some straw. Wet it. Some plants that I cut back this summer. Water. A layer of autumn leaves. You know what's next. Grass clippings, comfrey leaves, coffee grounds. Another layer of straw, and you can add seaweed solution to this water. Chicken manure and bedding from our girls. I like it to be well rotted down. A layer of wet straw, a layer of compost, and finally a layer of straw. You can plant straight into this bed and grow your own food for you and your family.